Well, good morning.
Ira,
Good
Kathy,
morning,
good
everyone. We
morning.
started recording. So good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Lech Lecha. Woo-hoo-hoo. This is one of my scariest portions, can I say? Brenda, you know all the
Yeah.
wives.
Hey, it won't let me record, so
Okay, well, we're recording to the cloud. Everyone say a
okay.
prayer for my internet.
Yeah.
Let the games begin. So I apologize. I would have taken off and sat in the parking lot again today, but again, time got away from me. So
Yeah.
we're praying for all of our internets today. But what a get up and get out. Go, 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 go. That's today, right?
Yep, that's this week. I'll tell you what,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it has been.
It was
Welcome to all of our new peeps.
yes, welcome,
We're
welcome. Good
so
morning, good
happy that
morning.
you're here.
The first time, Brenda, that I did this parsha really hit home to me. That's why I say it's one of my favorites. I'll say one of my favorites
Yeah.
is because it hit me. Um, it hit me really hard because it was this time 3 years ago.
I
Well,
think
actually, it
so.
was more than that. It was five.
Four.
It was 5 years ago. It's actually
Okay.
right when we started the portion. It was a few months after we had started the portion around the kitchen table, and then my husband and I were separated, and he was living in Colorado, and I was living in California, and it was during this time that he started saying, "You need to move. You need to get up and go." And I'm like, "What? No, my
Yeah.
daughter is here. She needs
Yeah.
me." And she was pregnant with my first granddaughter. There is no way I am leaving my baby
Yeah.
having her first baby. It's not, I'm not going to move to Colorado. And he's like, "You're going." And you know how you're arguing, but you already know you're going. You're like, yeah, I know. But you just feel like you need to say a couple more things. And even though you know you're really
Get your
going. So
point
as
across
I'm
just a little bit
packing,
better.
right? As I'm packing, I'm rah, 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 rah. So I did leave. God
Uh,
just did amazing things with my marriage as a result of the obedience, as we see when we move with his movements, what happens when we align with his will, how
yeah.
he brings fruit to our land, um, how he brings fruitfulness to things. But yeah, and then the second time, Brenda, I was in Colorado,
Yeah.
happy, content, making friends, having a great job, living in a great house. And then this portion came around, and I was like, this had been this is 2 years later. And I was like, what? No. So I started, now I'm like getting nervous when this Parsha comes around because it's like, don't make me get up and go again. So this last time that happened, we in Colorado, he says, get up and go. I had to, we sold everything pretty much. What didn't fit in those little pods, we had a few of those little pods, which are now in storage containers. And he said, get up and go. And all we had to live in was my tiny little Thelma D, my little teardrop trailer, 1951 King travel trailer, was teeny tiny, 17 foot. That includes the tongue. So it's really more like 14 feet. And he said, get up and go. And I was like, this time I was kind of excited. I wasn't really as nervous. So we packed everything, sold everything, and got on the road. And I didn't know what he was going to do. And I thought he wanted us to go to Arizona. I won't tell you the whole story, but we got to Arizona. Everywhere we went, it was like, not here, not here, not here. And then finally he called us to Arkansas. And as much as I didn't want to come to Arkansas, my grandparents are from here, and I spent summers here, hated it because of the humidity and the bugs and the snakes. And so he said, come back. And I was like, ah. So we knew that's where it was. Actually my husband, I said, you better tell my husband where we're going, because I don't know where we're going. So you better tell him. And so he did. And my husband said, I think we have to go to Arkansas. So we did. And just recently, we upgraded to we didn't live in the fifth wheel the whole time. We went back. We actually lived on Bill and Rosemary Bullock's ranch that they hadn't been on for a long time, and helped restore the land and bring life back into that. And what a blessing that was to our family. It was a respite. It was a healing place for our family. And it's fun now to watch them now walk, spending time out there and doing things out there. But and then he said it was time to go again in April. We felt the grace lift, and it was time to go. And we're like, well, where do you want us to move? We're so excited. We got back in Thelma D and went to Montana. That's where my husband said he thought it was, and we love it there. It's home. We feel like it's home, but we didn't. we had to come back down for the winter because we weren't prepared for winter, and we now are in a fifth wheel. I have an office. It's big, it's crazy. I have like 400 square feet instead of living in, I think we figured out it was like 26 square feet or something we were living in. So I'm not even kidding. Like two big people. We're both not little. So yeah. And then that happened. So yeah, that's my Lech Lecha story. Brenda, how about you?
Oh, geez. I can't top that. I remember when he was taking you to these places and the cities that you were going to, and it was just so funny because we're all ruined. All of us are ruined with the Torah. So we always look at everything like, what does that mean? Well, what does that mean? Well, what is that saying? Well, what's the name of that city? What does that city mean?
Exactly. Oh, remember when I was in Sholo, we were doing that. What does that mean?
Yeah,
What does
what does that mean?
Sholo mean? It
What does
must
that
be where
mean?
he's trying to show me something. Is that what that, we're trying to make it like something spiritual, and it wasn't. It was like, nope, you just get out. It was actually a gambling town or something. I don't know. Sholo
Yeah.
meant you show your low hand in cards, is what it was
Yeah.
named after. So pretty much sure that wasn't a God thing.
Pretty much sure that the whole trip was a God thing, and he was just taking you to
100%.
different places.
He did such great things. It was such a great,
Yeah.
it's always a great thing. And I'm curious, as we're going through this, if you have if you're overthink on Facebook, we're trying really hard to go live over there. We're having a hard time.
It's not working?
It isn't. So if you
Okay.
want to do a post and tell them it's not too late for them to jump into Zoom, that'd be awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have, you can please post down below, because we'll post this video if we're not able to do live, but tell us your stories. I want to hear your stories if you have a Lech Lecha story, because I'm sure, Simi, you have a get up and go. You had to get up and leave Venezuela. You've had to get up and leave Florida. You have anything you want to share on your Lech Lecha before we hop in?
Actually, I do, because the first time I actually, I'm almost 50 years old at this point, and is the first time I go through Torah. And my husband and I were joining a group to go to Israel for the first time. And I was so excited because I was going to go to Israel for my 50th birthday. And the week before we left, it's Lech Lecha. And I remember thinking, go for yourself. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to Israel. Yeah, that's cool. But then what started that, which, it's been 10 years, what started that to where I'm at right now, I'm looking through it again and I'm like, wow, you really got me on a journey there's no way back. And it's been amazing. Amazing.
Oh, I was reading a rabbi this morning was talking about, he was saying that Abraham was like a vessel filled with oil, but he was sitting in the corner and he had to be shook up and moved around so that everyone could get the fragrance of the oil. And I thought that was just a really beautiful explanation of him picking him up and moving him out. We're gonna go through this call for we left off in 11, where Abraham, I hope that some of you spent some time on those 10 generations before Abraham, looking up their names, looking at those 10 men, and what happened from Adam to Abraham. It's not an accident that those 10 names are put in there. So if you want to get nerdy, you can go into Blue Letter Bible and just look up their names and look what their names means, and just come up with your own little word picture of that experience of going through that. And then we hop into chapter 12, and I was looking at a map, and I was looking at the place. So Abraham's father takes them out of Hebron, right? So he takes them out of Hebron, and as he's taking him out, what is it? They're supposed to head to Canaan. And I was looking at it. Looks pretty sure it's up the Euphrates. It looks like it's a. I'm going to be honest with everyone here. I have never looked at this before on the map, like Abraham's journey, how he gets to Canaan. And I was like, you're reading it, and if you don't really know where Haran is, you don't know where that is, or Haran, you don't know where that is. You're like, oh, well, it must have just been like right on the way to Canaan, and his dad was going over there, and then he stopped off and stopped off at Haran and decides, oh, we'll hang out here and let's live here instead. Oh, because the name sounded like his baby boy that died, right? So maybe his heart was grieving, so he stayed there. It's actually kind of two different names, so I didn't buy that one. But It's a really far distance, right, Simi? Brenda, you guys, it's far. I didn't realize how far it was from 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 where they were, where they started out to Haran and then to Canaan. It was like, and I wanted to I'll pull up the screen in a little bit and I'll try to share my screen with you guys, but it's literally like, here's Saudi Arabia. Haran is Turkey. Up the Euphrates to the top of Euphrates is Turkey. So it had to be like a trade route. And I'm guessing, they probably went up there and it was lucrative. So they stayed because it was the name means dried up, burnt place. So you're thinking, oh my gosh, why did they stay in this horrible, ucky named place? But it must have been at that time when I was reading the history of that city, it was a metropolis. I mean, it was a trading mecca. So it must have been obviously it was prosperous because the boys left with lots of stuff, right? It said they left with the people and the things that they had inherited. We see that Lot comes along with them because he's the nephew. Abraham takes him because as the oldest son and his baby brother dies, it's now his job to take care of. Since the dad passed, now it's his job to take care of Lot and to oversee things. So Lot comes along with him and they head on to Canaan. What a journey, right? What a journey. I didn't realize how big of a journey it was. And I mean, I think there's something there. And I know there's something there, and it's one of those things that it's going to connect, and as soon as it connects, I'm going to be like, oh man,
Oh, that's what that was.
oh my gosh, yeah, we get lots of fun things. I'll quick overview again. Then we go into, of course, we see Abraham and Sarah are in Egypt. We get the fun thing where, hey, this is my sister, whatever. Then we go on to Lot separating when Abraham has to rescue Lot. Then we go into the cutting of the covenant. This is such a rich parsha, this cutting of this covenant. And then we get into Hagar and Ishmael. Every time I'm even saying that, I'm starting to tear up and cry. And then we end up with God talking about this covenant of circumcision with his people. But wow, there's a lot, Brenda.
Really, there's so much. And it's like every year you'll focus on something different. Like this year, I when I was going through this parsha, and I hope that you ladies, I know that some of you that are new, just jump in. You don't have to know everything. Just read it. Just open it up and just read the scriptures. And you don't have to know everything, and you don't have to get into a genius mode, and you don't have to know Hebrew, and just read it and let the Holy Spirit just speak life to you and bring something to your the forefront of your thinking when you're reading through the scriptures. And then just stop there. It's okay. We're going to read this again next year. We're going to do this again. We're going to be doing this for a long time. So when something grabs you, you can be comfortable. You don't have to make it all the way through the end. You don't have to do that. Don't feel pressured. Just stop right where that thing grabs you and sit there for a little bit. And if you have time in the week to move on to something else, then move on to something else. So sometimes words, like for me, like this week in verse 6, when it says, and he departed. And let me read it here. It says, and Abraham passed through the land. Okay, no big deal, right? Oh my gosh.
Or is it?
Hit me like a ton of bricks. Hit me like a ton of bricks. Okay. This is what I'm talking about. It's like the Holy One's going to speak to you in this parsha, no matter what. But when I'm reading this and it said, and he passed over, I'm like, what is going on here? First usage in the flood. The first time that word was ever used and passed over, it was in the flood. When the flood waters had covered the earth, everything was being regenerated and renewed. There was a whole lot of death that occurred too, but the process of it was eventually was for the redemption of the land, for the earth and the people, right? So it was covered with water, and the Holy Spirit passed over and blew his breath. He moved the water off of the dry land so that it dried up, so that the earth could once again become fruitful and multiply. That's where that word came from.
Oh,
So what I'm
Brenda,
saying is, when
Brenda.
Abraham passed over, sisters, get the picture. God had a plan. There was something
Yes.
happening that was going to change the world forever. It wasn't just a
so
do. I think I'm going to turn right here. I think I'm going to turn left. He had a plan,
Yes.
and the Holy Spirit was in the midst of it, as our favorite saying now, Deborah. He had his fingers in the pudding.
Yes.
That was what he was doing. And so it's really great when you'll just take the time, when you get that thing in you that goes, ooh, stop. If you never get past that verse, you never get past the verse. It's okay, because the word is alive and living. So just sit in it and enjoy it.
It
And
happens
see
all the
what the Holy
time.
One says. It happens all the time.
I
Like,
I
how
remember
often do we ever get to the end of the parsha?
Yes.
Honestly,
No, really. And then you're like, oh my gosh, we're done already. It's time to move on. I haven't even read the second sentence. So the
Right.
first time I learned how to read the word, this is super 101. So all of you pros and Hebrew scholars, close your ears, go get a drink and get your some coffee right now. But here goes. The first time I learned to read the word, someone told me, you need to read until something pops out at you. It's going to sound like Charlie Brown's mom. Right. And he begat. And he begat. And then it'll be crazy, but someone's name is going to pop out at you.
Yeah.
Or you'll keep reading and all that doesn't really make sense. And you're like praying as you're reading and asking the Father to show you what you need to know. And you just keep reading. Don't give yourself grace. You don't get it. That's okay. It's not time for you to get it, because he needs to build precept on precept in your heart, in your life, right? You're not ready for it.
Yep.
Because he'll blow your mind every year. So, and then all the settings, like Brenda said, something is going to pop off the page and you're like, oh, and then it'll start going back to blah, 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 and go back to what made sense to you.
Yes.
Stay there, marinate in that.
Yeah.
Go look it up. Get a hold of us. There's so many women on here that you can say, okay, God stopped me on this part. I know how many women, I mean, gosh, I know Simi, I know Linda, I know Misty, of course, us. I know so many that are in here. I'm sorry. I'm trying to look at all the things, but I'm telling you, there's so many women here that you can say, I don't know why, but God stopped me on here. What do I do now? And we would love to help walk you through what to do next. I mean, literally our hearts would explode if you got a hold of us, right? I see Misty. I can see her out of the corner of my eye. Our hearts would explode if you said, I don't know I couldn't read, nothing else in this section made sense, especially when we get to maybe like, I don't know, Leviticus. We get to some places that might seem hard to you, that you have been told this was a hard book to read.
Right.
You're going to find something pop off the page and it's life, and you take a bite of it and it's fresh manna.
Yeah.
And it explodes. So Brenda, you're talking about the land. God help us. I'm going to jump all over.
Okay, jump.
When I was reading this morning about that, I did not know the connection between the land, Eretz. So he's passing through the land,
abiding. He's abiding.
He's abiding.
Passing
in
through
Eretz, the land, which has a connection with the word will. Okay. The will is ratzon. Ratzon is will. Okay. They share a common subroot. I'll talk to all of you this morning. Here's for the Hebrew geekies. R-TZ. They share that subroot. And I want you to keep that in the back of your mind as you're reading this, because we're going to talk about during this sacrifice that happened. That's what we've called them all the time, is the sacrifices. Are we going to just jump there?
Yeah, do it.
Okay. We get to this. We may be all over. Grab your Bibles, put on your seat. This is going to be one of those roller coaster rides. I think you have to put the kind that goes over your head, the buckle up ones, or the lap belt. We jump into this thing where this covenant happens, and we hear about God cutting this covenant with Abraham. And I had something pop to me today, so I want to share that with you. was that, first of all, let's talk about the word sacrifice. Since it's we've seen it come up. We've seen it come up in earlier. We've seen it with Noah. We've seen it earlier in the first, our first in Bereshit. We saw the very first. We saw that happening, that there was a squabble between what was the right way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Brenda, can we talk a minute about what is an offering? What is a sacrifice? Because the word is korban. And many of you have maybe received that word as sacrifice or as an offering. This isn't a sacrifice like Greeks or other pagan worshipers would have given a sacrifice so that they would please the god. Little g. So in our minds, when we think of the word sacrifice in English, we think I have to give up something to please God. And yes, that's true. But I want you to let's talk about korban. It's different. It's a way of, it's actually means it's the offering, is not for God. It's a means in which we can approach the throne. It's a means to which we can approach. So it's a means to get rid of what's in the way for us to get to the throne.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Anything you want to add
it's
to
a
that?
Lifting up. It's a coming up to. It's coming up to the throne. It is that essence of the fragrance rising up to the throne. And it's really all about how we are interacting with the Holy One. It's not about the murder of an animal. It's about how we are interacting ourselves with the Holy One. And we will definitely get into this in super detail in Leviticus, which is it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So right now, Charlie, are you talking about korban? You're talking
I just
about
want to talk about
olah?
korban. So so this particular korban, and I'm going to use the word because I want you to start getting used to seeing when I say korban, I want you to think of a lifting up, an approach to the throne, a way to get to the throne.
And which scripture are you using it from? I just want to grab hold of that in Genesis.
Because I jumped.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Go covenant. We're in 17. Decision decided to. I'm going through the whole covenant.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it.
Going through his covenant when he is. Yeah, we're going through the.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm lying.
15.
Number 15. We're going through the covenant cutting. Again, anyone can do this. Jump in anytime, anyone.
Okay,
we're in
got it.
Genesis 15 when he's cutting this covenant. And what he asked them to do is something like, to us, bizarro. Okay. If Gail were here, she'd just be hopping up and down. Ooh, 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 pick me, because this is a whole ancient Near East experience. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a cutting of a covenant that we don't understand. So I want to start with just that. This is a custom that would happen a lot of times. There would be we don't understand this, but what would happen is that two people would take an animal and they would cut it, and then they would walk between the two divided halves, and they would walk between the blood as it's like all around and splashing all of them. And that basically they're saying, just as these two parts are separated, as this animal is separated, it's still one animal. Even though we're two people, we are one. We're in covenant with one another. Even though it appears that they're separated, they're still together as one. So this would have been a covenant that's difficult for us to understand. So for those of you that are brand new, that are coming in, you're reading this and you're going, this is weirdo. This is so bizarro. Why are they cutting a bunch of animals and walking through the middle of them? And what does this all mean? And it means a lot of things. And today we're not doing all the things. We're going to do a couple things.
Yeah.
I want to focus, for me, my part of this, I want to focus on that. This was a korban olah. It's OLAH. Korban olah is a surrendering of your will. And this is one of the offerings that's burnt completely up. This isn't one that's shared with the priests when we talk about it later. This is one that gets totally burnt up, okay? It's brought to surrender your thoughts, your mind, even if you haven't done something wrong, but you're thinking about it, when we think of when Yeshua says, it doesn't even matter if you've done it, but if you've thought it, it's as if you've done it. That's what Korban Olah was also for. It's for your will and your thoughts and your intentions. So I want you to see all that wrapped up. This is what this was. And what he was asking him to do is, I want you to surrender. This is a Korban Olah. So for you to approach me, for you to get to this place of approach, I want to do this with you. I want to walk this out with you. How you're going to surrender your will, surrender your intentions, surrender your ways, your thoughts, so that I can give you the land. Because when you do that, the land is then fruitful, because the land is crying out for the will of the Father. That's why they're connected. The land and will, the words are connected, because the land cries out for the will of the Father to be fruitful, to do what it's there to do. So if you're surrendering your will, and as this is all happening, he gives him the land, because that's a place where he would then be fruitful and multiply. But to do all those things, he had to get rid of what was going to keep him between them, was his will, his thoughts, his plans. And that wasn't going to be staying where he was. It was going to be, you have to move. A prophet isn't welcome in his own town, right? He'd been in his town for a long time, and he had to leave it so that he could actually have. I've experienced that. When your family just doesn't get you, they think you're crazy. They don't understand, because they remember that you used to eat your boogers when you were 3. I mean, they're like, oh, you didn't do that? Or they remember that all the crazy things you did when you were little or a teenager, when you came in late and when you accidentally stole your dad's car and you didn't mean to.
So did you hear that from a friend?
I've heard a friend did that. Not Brenda. Brenda was not that child. I'll just tell you that. We are like the odd couple. We are totally the odd couple. So, I now have related myself to Oscar. Okay. So back to
you're talking about the Korban. Okay.
So I want to just say that he's surrendering his will, his way. And to reinforce this, and we're going to do this again in Leviticus.
Yeah.
I want you to think of the Lord's Prayer. When the disciple said, Yeshua, teach us to pray. Messiah, teach us how to pray. What they were saying is, teach us how to approach the heavenly places. How do we get there? How do we get in your presence? And what he did was he walked them through the corbanots. He walked them through the processes of the tabernacle. He walked them through the process of getting from that. And if you go through it, we'll do it again in Leviticus. The very first thing he says is, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Yes.
The first thing he does is surrenders his will and says, thy will be done on earth. Let the will be excited, let the earth be excited, and let it be submitted so that it's fruitful as it is in heaven. Right there, he's already connecting the earth with the will.
Yeah. And Olah is will. Olah, when we do the Korban Olahs, which the question was, where is it saying Korban in Hebrew? I'm not sure. I know that he had him bring the sacrifice, so that's where Charlie is getting this from. But when Charlie was mentioning Olah, that is the Olah, that is the offering that is all about your will. It's all about offering your will to the Holy One and having that go up to him. So yeah, so that was the question there.
Oh, great. And so what I'll let you know is, I will put down, it's Korban. And in Leviticus 1, we talk about that. If you research, if you look into what were sacrifices, the actual word for sacrifice or offering is actually korban. It's a korbanot. So, and they'll talk to you, you'll learn about going through those processes. And again, we're going to go deeper into that. I just wanted to touch on it because I want it somewhere, a tab open. But more importantly, what I want you to focus on is that there's a connection between you being fruitful and you surrendering your will.
Oh, Charlie, say that again.
There's this huge connection between you being fruitful and surrendering your will, your thoughts, your plans. We joke around and say the process. Okay, stop. Surrender all your thoughts. When you're in your spin, when you're going cray cray, you can't figure out what's going on. You stop, you surrender. then release it. Say, Father, I release my will. I release my plans. I release all my ways. I'm so sorry. I'm giving it all to you now. You tell me what I'm supposed to do. And then you wait, and he will.
Yes, he will.
But what happens is what keeps us from being fruitful is when we walk in our own wills and our own way. And he didn't want that to happen for Abraham. So not only did he take him through the process together, he did it for him. I mean, Simi, right? Can we dig deep into this? Like all the levels of every meaning of everything, with the blood splashing, with the torches, with the fire. He didn't have to build the fire. He didn't build the fire. He didn't do things. Do you have a minute just to give a brief thing? Good.
I would love to, because that is one of my favorite. The first mission trip that I did to Kosovo was to college students, and they were all Muslims. They have never heard anything. Our text to teach English to them was the Bible. So they wanted to learn English, so they just went along with us. But they've never read it. They had no clue what it said. So they are just appalled that a father would kill the son. And they're just like, they're not following us whatsoever. And so then I just felt it was God, and it definitely was. I just got up and I said, okay, let's talk about something that you know in your culture that would explain this very well. I said, how do you make contracts? And they knew the ancient way of making contracts. And that is, back then we sit on a table, we have all these papers, and you get a pen, he gets a pen, and you write your name, he writes his name, and you write it and write names forever until all the papers are drawn, right? When you buy a house, especially. Well, back then, the ink was the blood. And this is the contract. You bring the animal, you cut it in half, you open it up so that both sides are equal. And the blood that drains, because they will make a drench, the blood that drains is where you're going to walk. And this is what you're literally saying. As you're walking and he's walking, you're saying, if I don't fulfill my part, I will give my blood. I will die like this animal. And the other one says the same. Right.
Yeah,
so
may
they're
it be unto me. Yes.
Are making that covenant that they will fulfill the covenant or they will die. So this is the beauty. I love this part because they track with me up to that point. They're like, yeah, we know that. Okay. This is what God did. When God asked Abraham to cut all those animals, because it wasn't just one, there were several animals that he cuts. And he tells him, he puts him to sleep. You remember when Dr. Robin Gould talked about the covenants that are one-sided or both-sided. This is both-sided. This means I say this and you say this, and we both have to fulfill it, or one of us will die. That's just as simple as that. But what did our Father do? Our Father put Abraham to sleep. So with that saying, and he's the only one that walks. So he's saying, if I fail, which of course God will never fail.
Right.
If I fail, I die. If you fail, I die too.
Yes.
So do you understand now why his son had to die? And let me tell you, I get chills just remembering, because most of them were mouth drop. They are not speaking. A few had tears, and they didn't say anything in front of the rest. They just, came and said to me later on in private, I want to know more about this. I've never heard anything like that. That is amazing. And they actually came to know the Lord. So it's just amazing how God does that. But bringing it to us, if our daddy said, I'm doing this for you and me, baby girl, I know you're going to fail, but I have given you a provision already, and my son will die for you so that you don't have to. You will, in him, be walking up to that cross. In him, you will be dying with him, but I will resurrect you the same way I will resurrect him. So we do fulfill. It's not like, oh, well, thank God he died. I don't have to. No, we are in him. So in him, if you read Ephesians 40 times, it says in Christ, in Christ,
him,
in
in
Christ.
him.
So it's like he's telling us over and over, you know, those 40 years that they have to spend in the desert, you will too. And those 40 times, I'm telling you, I'm confirming to you, you're in me. And I don't let go. When I grab, I don't let go. And you are in me, and you will die on that cross with me, and you will resurrect at the third day with me. So I just love that he provided, even before the foundation of the world, he provided for that. And if you let me go a little bit longer, I wanted to bring those I wills that he put on that first verse, on first chapter 12. It says, I will show you the land. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great. I will bless those that bless you. I will curse those that curse you. And by you, all the families in the earth will be blessed. And if we put that in the menorah, in the days of creation, we just finished the days of creation, right? On Bereshit. So we see that his first I will, he's saying the light that's coming out of darkness is the land. That land is ours, whether we're Jewish or not, we're all in one covenant. So that is our land. That's the light that is showing on first day. The second I will make you a great nation. He will separate, remember, upper waters and lower waters? He will separate us from the nations. And it's okay, because there is a firstborn. When there is a firstborn, that means there is many other born, correct? Otherwise, he would have been like him, his only begotten son. But we're not. We are the firstborn nation. So here we have the land. Now we have a people. We are a people separated from the rest. We're to walk in this world, but separated from the world. Third day, resurrection. He says, I will bless you. He will bring us back to life. Number 3 is the number of resurrection. So he will bless us. We will be fruitful. Like Charlie was saying, we will have a seed. We will have fruit with seed so that we can take to the nations, that we can share with others. Number 4, I will make your name great to be a blessing. And this one is very important because we just came out of what? Noah. What was the problem with the Tower of Babel? That they wanted to make their own name. And he says, no, I will make you a great name, because remember, we're firstborn. So we have his last name, correct? So here in authority, moon, sun, the moon, the sun, and the stars, this is the day of authority, of government. We come under him. Is his great name that he will use to bless others. Because it says there, to be a blessing.
Right.
So the great name is not for, oh, I have that great name. No, it's for, so us, we can be a blessing. Then day 5, it says, I will bless you that bless. I will bless those that bless you. So we remember we have the birds and the fish, and they're taking the seed all over the world through currents, through the Holy Spirit. It's the spirit of power. So he's given us that power. He's given us the power to bless others as they bless us. Day 6, I will curse anyone who will curse you. Day 6, we have man and beast, right? So we are cursing the beast. In any one of us, you can curse my beast any day you want to. You have my permission. Because we all have that beast. We all have to curse that flesh. And as we have said before, Brenda has said it so beautifully, that is limitations, right?
Yes.
We're not, doing a hocus pocus, Halloween chant or whatever, potion. We are saying, hey, beast.
That's right.
You're limited. My spirit
Rein it in.
free. Is free, open to move in power.
Yes.
My flesh is limited, and it has to be under my submission. So that's what it's saying on cursing that flesh. And then 7 is the most beautiful of all. And by you, all the families of the earth will be blessed. Did you see that? Not just the firstborn nation. He's not blessing just
Right.
us.
Right.
He's using us to bless all the
Right.
nations of
Right.
the world. That's
Yes. Oh, that's so good, Simi.
I love
That's
that.
so good. And you know how much the Holy One loves his people,
Yes.
the Gurs,
The
the
Goyim.
foreigners, the Gurs. You know, he loves his people. He loves us, all of us, and is drawing all of us in here. And that is the beautiful thing with Avraham or Avram at this
At this
moment,
point.
Avram, uh, because the proclamation went out that he would bless everyone on the earth. No one left out. Everyone. I'm getting goosebumps right now just
Yes.
hearing that blessing of the Holy One to the people. So let's go. Charlie, what else we got on the agenda?
Gosh, no, I'm still, I was thinking that I'm just like, I need to go now. Bye, everyone. I need a nap. I need to just go grab my menorah and take a nap. I was thinking, I'm going back to the blood. I was just thinking of, I had written a note of that's where we get blood brothers from. Is that when people do, remember when you were kids, people don't do this. I haven't heard kids say this, but when I was a kid, we'd be like, you'd hear someone, they'd cut their hand and then they would cut their hand and then they put it together. If my kids did that now, I'd freak out, right?
Yeah.
But back in the day, we would probably how everybody spread hepatitis. You just cut your hand and you cut your hand and you put your hands together or your fingers, you poke it and you poked it and you put your fingers together.
Yeah.
Brenda, I'm so happy we haven't had a blood covenant. So other than with Yeshua,
that's one of the things that we have never gotten around to, and it's okay.
Let's never do that.
But we do.
Fist bump.
We have a blood covenant, the blood of Messiah.
That's what I said.
Sisters.
Yeah. I said, other than Yeshua, we don't need to do that.
Yeah. So I wanted to say that when I get all excited when Simi was saying, and Charlie, when you were talking about walking through, okay, we're all women here. We can cry if we want to. It's our party. Okay. So when the Holy One put Avram to sleep, reminiscent of when he put Adam to sleep, right? And then he pulled out of Adam this beautiful piece of him that was going to be life and move and change the world, right? That's us, right? Okay. So here Abraham is being taken out of the equation in the sense that the Holy One's taking responsibility for both parts, as Simi said. You said it so beautifully, Simi. So it is an equal covenant where both parties have to have 100%. It's not 50-50. It's 100-100. But he put Avram to sleep and he took both parts. And when he walked through those animals and the blood was there, how it was described to me years ago was that when this would happen, the blood was picked up and thrown upon the person. Be it unto me, just like these animals divided, be it unto me if I ever break this covenant. That this death would come upon me if I ever break this covenant. And that is the image I want you to take, because the Holy One said, be it unto me, basically is what he's saying when he's walking through. And it was the fire of God. It was his manifest presence. It was himself. He was right there walking through this, saying, this is how serious this is.
Man.
The second covenant, the first one was with Noah, and the bow is still in the sky, people. That bow is still in the sky. Every time it rains or put your sprinkler on, the bow is there. And then this covenant is him saying, forever and ever and ever, you are mine forever and ever and ever. And for all generations. See, Abraham stood in for all of us because we were there in him.
Yes. Get it?
So this
His
is
DNA.
us.
Yes.
This is us. So when we say, I feel so far from God, sisters, I understand that circumstances can make us feel that way, but let me tell you that it is this one. It is the Almighty. We call him here a little bit later, Shaddai, El Shaddai. It is the almighty, powerful, omnipotent one who's saying, you're mine and I'm yours.
Oh,
And I'm never
yes.
going to leave you or forsake you. This is it. This is what we're doing. This is it. We're doing it right here, right now, for all time, all people.
Oh, Brenda, I'm a mess. You
I,
realize,
I,
I
I'm
think I
telling you.
read, and I have to go back and confirm this. Do not, everyone fact check.
Okay, fact check.
I need a fact
I
checker.
love fact checks.
My understanding, I feel like this is one of the first times that he introduces himself as El Shaddai.
Yeah, first
It's a first
mention.
use. It's a first
Yeah.
mention of El Shaddai. And she just
Yeah.
said, remember, he is that. It says that he's the nurturing one.
Yeah.
This is a feminine characteristic. It's the mother heart of God. This, when you said he put him to sleep, and then he pulled, I saw all that picture together. This is just so beautiful. The other thing I saw was Yeshua praying. He did his Korban Olah. He said, not my will, but yours. And then drops of blood came.
Yeah.
As he surrendered his will, it's a reminder of this covenant of the blood that was spilling out of him, that had been splashed on him at the foundations of the earth, that had been splashed on him as he walked between these animals. This blood was now coming out of him, saying, is a reminder, I took this blood covenant. So now it's not my will, but I get to do this now for everyone.
Yeah. Can you see Yeshua? Can you see him saying, I told you. I told you. I've got this. We ask where Yeshua is in all of this.
Yeah. And you see John in John 8:56, he's that's when Yeshua was saying, and then Abraham saw my day and was glad. Because Abraham got to see the completion of this covenant.
Yeah.
And he was glad he got to see it. He lived it once, and then he got to see it when it was going to be walked out for us. Isn't that beautiful?
So good.
Sorry, we're a mess, everybody.
We're a mess. I know. It's okay.
It was just beautiful.
We have to, we're skipping all around, guys. I hope you can. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. I want to, please, let's go back. And we go back. What do you want to go to? Name changes?
Oh, yeah. We could do that.
I think it's funny. We have it's funny that the plagues, he tries to give his wife away. And I think that's a cultural thing that we probably should understand. As Westerners, we're all like, what? If my husband tried to say I was his sister and give me away. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm with you, girl. I am right there with you. I would not have been getting back in that caravan. I would have been staying with the Pharaoh. I would have been like, you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, sister this. But she didn't, because she was a good ancient Near East wife. And she was obedient. She did that's what she did to save her. What she did was she sacrificed.
Yeah, she did.
And did what it took to save her family. Yeah. She took one for the team, and she did. And what happened is, God ends up blessing her, keeps her protected. He, so protected. As always, women, we are not the weaker sex. We are equal sexed. We are strong in our own senses. We are all the things, and he's going to protect you. He's going to walk you through whatever you're walking through. And this is the first mention of those plagues. It was a little foreshadowing of, there's some plagues coming to Egypt's way.
Yeah.
Send some plagues to Egypt to say, let my lady go. Let my lady go.
Yeah. Can I give you a little caveat in the midst of that? What happened to me when I was reading that was, I thought, what hit me was how the Holy One will speak to anybody he chooses. And what hit me was, when we're praying for people that we think are far away from God, that, are not, he spoke to Pharaoh, okay? He spoke to Pharaoh.
Girl, please.
And in that, like that, Pharaoh knew what was going on, knew the situation, boom, 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 done. He is not out of control. I mean, he is not powerless. God is not powerless ever. We're introduced to him in this Torah portion as El Shaddai, the Almighty, the omnipotent one, the one who is all powerful. Pharaoh, anybody in your family, anyone who is not walking with the Holy One, any husband that is not walking with the Holy One, any child that is not walking with the Holy, you have to understand that in the big scheme of things, God is so in control. And yes, we pray for them. And yes, we ask him to open their eyes and reveal himself to them. But we also have to step back and say, Father, your will be done in your timing, because the testimonies that they have to share cannot be brought forth before the time is right. And we have to trust him that he's going to do it. He did it with you.
Yeah.
He did, and he is no
Preach.
respecter of persons.
Right. Right. And he may send plagues to get their attention.
And so be it. And hello, I mean, you can throw tomatoes at me. It's all good. But I'm telling you that in the midst of the hardships is when God grabs a hold of the hearts of his people, and he wants us to turn to him because we choose to. He could do this and it would be done, but that's not what he's wanting. He's wanting for us to set our wills aside. And that is what's happening with those loved ones that we have that are not yet in that place that we see them to be. Keep praying for them. Keep calling them forth. Keep speaking to the life that is within them, because the neshama within them is alive and living. The breath of God, the spark of divinity that is in them, that is causing them to be alive, is there.
Yeah. Look for
Speak
it.
life to it. Look for it. Ignore the stupid, crazy
Pharaoh stuff.
Ignore that. Speak life to them and keep doing it, and it will change you. It will change your environment, and it will change them. And God's got this. And I don't know who that was for, but I just want to come in and hug you right now and say, it's okay.
Thank you.
It's going to be okay, because you and your house, it's going to be okay.
Yes.
So I love you.
And we have to remember, that is beautiful. Egypt is a place, Mitzrayim is a place where things are birthed. It's a birthing canal. It's a narrowing straits. It's the birthing canal where things get shot out of.
Ouchie.
And, once again, they go into Mitzrayim.
Yeah.
And then they get shot out, and then they settle in Hebron. And Hebron means to bind
Did
together.
you just say shot out? They go in and then they get
shot out.
Because you're a nurse, and that's how
I'm a
you
nurse.
see
I can
things.
say that. I've delivered babies. You can catcher's mitt. They get shot out. They got pushed out of Egypt with Moshe, and we're seeing it happen right here. He's like, this is not where you're supposed to be. So I promise you, I'm backing up Brenda here. Anywhere, I mean, I've walked through husband not walking with. I'm talking about, my husband was an Army Ranger, said that only people who needed God were weak people who needed a crutch because they were too weak to do life on their own. And my husband is radically saved, radically loves the Father.
Walking Torah.
Big fat Harley riding mean guy. Cries the minute
tatted all over.
Ask him to pray. You ask him to pray, and he's
Ask him about his testimony when you meet him. Hey, what's your testimony? Man will start bawling his eyes out.
So I'm telling you, I want you to be encouraged. Children, thinking your kids are like, oh, they're in their Egypt. They don't stay there.
Linda Millett, she's living that right this moment.
They do not stay there. It's a place where they may get some plagues. It's a place where there's polytheism happening. There's some crazy stuff happening in Egypt, but they don't stay there.
That's right.
Amen.
Can
I share a scripture?
Yes.
Okay. So, we're in the midst of the stuff, in the midst of Egypt, in the midst of life, world. We are in those 40 years. Every single generation is going through that testing. But let's read the end of the book, the end of the prophecy. Isaiah says this. In that day, Israel, and I'm in Isaiah 19, verse 24 and 25, write it down. In that day, Israel will join a three-party alliance with Egypt and Assyria, a blessing upon the earth, period. The Lord of hosts will bless them, saying, blessed be Egypt, my people, Assyria, my handiwork, and Israel my inheritance.
Woo!
At the end of times, that all-consuming fire went through those pieces, and he will burned away all sin, burned away all evil. But at the end of time, he will bring all his children back home.
Oh, yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
that's beautiful.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh goodness.
Okay,
Oh
did
my
we?
goodness. How about one? Let me do one more word. Let me do a real quick word.
Do it.
Uh, chapter 50. There's so many beautiful things in here, you guys. This is
I
why
was just
we're
looking at
saying
all the
just
names of the
stop.
Lord, just the names
Oh,
of God
oh,
through here. I was like, oh my gosh, I love how he's loving on us and showing us who he is all through
he
this with his
is.
name.
Oh, I'm telling you. Oh yes. Okay. So, um, in verse 7, the reason that I wanted to share this with you is because I told you that when you start reading the scriptures and you start reading the Parsha, it's okay for you to stop at the first verse, the first word, the first letter. It's okay. So when you're reading, sometimes things are going to grab you like you're going to be, what? I don't even get that. Like Charlie said, grab hold of one of us. You've got all of our names are on here. You can message us. You're in the portion. You can message anybody in the portion. So this is the one that got me. This is another one. It just seems very innocuous. Okay. It just seems like, oh, whatever. It's just like no big deal, just a word. It says, and Adonai said, I am Adonai who brought you out from Ur Kasdim to give you this land as your possession. And it is, and he's talking about, if I'm getting this correctly, yeah, a bar again. He's talking about bringing him out. Guys, sorry, I apologize that my notes are not. I didn't write it down. Anyway, he's talking about crossing over. Maybe I've got the wrong one, but anyway, he's talking about crossing over, and that first mention of crossing over, it's talking about the establishing the fruitfulness when we cross over. When we're moving from one place to the next, the Holy One is saying, I'm having you cross over. It's like the Hebrew thing, being a Hebrew is one who crosses over. Okay, that's what's happening here. And he's crossing from one piece of land to another. It's not just words that are in English that are just saying, yeah, he went from here to there. In Hebrew, it's saying he's crossing over from this portion of land to this portion of land. And what that means is that all of heaven and earth are testifying that what will occur when he crosses over, can you feel it right now? What will occur when he crosses over is the multiplication and fruitfulness that was given in the garden. Be fruitful and multiply. So it's not just in English, we're looking at the words like he went here. God said, go. We're looking at that in English, but in Hebrew, this richness is covering over us. This richness of right now in chapter 15, he's crossing over. He's leaving behind something and he's moving into destiny. And remember that we're with him. We're in Messiah Yeshua. Messiah Yeshua is in Abraham right now, Avram right now. And we're in him. And when he crosses over, we're crossing over. We are able to walk into this multiplication of fruitfulness. And I just want that to settle on you. Any word in the Torah, any word, every word is life-giving, life-breathing, even the word curse. Even the word curse, guys, even the word curse, it hurts. Yeah, painful, absolutely. Mitzrayim, birth canal, horribly painful for anyone who's had a baby, And this curse is a
Your
hard
head gets
thing.
squeezed. Your head's all squeezed and
Yes,
misshapen when you come out.
yes, and
it's
you have
not
to
good.
recover.
You leave a nice warm place and then you have to,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so the whole thing with the cursing is being lowered down, being brought down, being put down, being restricted, being confined. Instead of having the fruitfulness of your destiny, you're being restricted and pushed tighter. But that, if you honestly can just see beyond the
Timeout. It could be a
word,
timeout.
exactly, you have to do that in order for you to become a fruitful person, to be the person that God's created you to be. You need to be restricted. You don't want fruitfulness when you're walking in blatant sin. You don't want the fruitfulness of that sin. You want to
No.
be restricted. You want to be brought in. You want to be reined in. You want to be brought down. You want a timeout so that you can have a
Seed must
turning
die. The seed must
of,
die.
yeah, you turn, you get it taken care of. He dusts you off, puts you back together and says, now go be fruitful and multiply. Now this is where you get to multiply. You want these seeds to grow and sprout and be fertile. But the seeds, the seeds that are in that time when we are not walking in his ways, those are not the seeds we want to sprout and be fruitful and multiply. Okay, so I'm just saying,
No.
this is what I'm
That's even
talking
with
about
Lot, with the division of
words.
Lot.
Yeah.
With that division of Lot, we
Mhm.
think, oh, well, Lot was man, he wanted to take. There needed to be a division.
There had
There's
to be a
always,
division.
I mean, Cindy has
Always.
taught even that there's, as we go through the creation, there's a division, and then there's he makes it fruitful and multiply. There's a
Mhm.
division and there's
Mhm.
multiplication.
Yeah.
There had to be a division because there
Yeah.
was, because of the issues between the people, between their herdsmen, there had to be a division.
Yeah.
And it was also a way because Abraham probably would have leaned towards maybe going into that valley, and he probably, and because there was the division, he said, well, pick which land you want, and Lot picked that land. It would have restricted, it would have been a curse to Abraham and his family had he gone this way that Lot went. So even though it looked like a barren, not as nice of a place to go, it was a place that where he could have been walked in his destiny, as opposed to being distracted by things that weren't his destiny. So it was a good thing that happened. And that's, we're all the life of Emunah. It's all good. It like really is all good. It looks
Oh my
bad, but
gosh.
it's all good. It's all
Yeah.
good.
It really
Wow.
is.
Yeah,
Speaking of Emunah.
So good.
Yeah.
I know. Speaking of Emunah, what about life? What about name changes here?
Oh, let's do
Because
it.
this
Oh,
is my
can
favorite.
you see
Hey.
this?
Yeah.
Is it printed properly?
Perfect.
You can, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it perfect?
Okay. Go Charlie.
No, you go.
Oh, okay. So here is Avram, Aleph, Bet, Mem Sofit. That's the word Avram. It got changed by adding a hey. So it's still Aleph, Bet. Oh, I forgot the resh. Sorry, guys. I forgot, typo.
I was
what
like,
Brenda
where's
said.
the
Hey,
resh?
you get an extra
I
bonus
learned
for
it.
finding it. Woohoo! Look at you. I forgot the
I
resh.
learned
Sorry,
it
I typed
today.
this while we were starting the okay. So it should be Aleph, Bet, Resh, and then it was added in the hey and then the mem. Okay. So this hey got added in to Avram. What does the hey do? Well, let's look at Sarah real quick.
Hey.
Yeah, let's look at Sarah real quick. Sarah was Sarai. Sheen, seen actually. Resh, Yod. And then all of a sudden, she gets a hey added to her name. Well, she already had the Yod. So what got added? The Dalet. The Dalet got added to make the hey, because the hey is the Dalet and the Yod. So the Dalet got added. So now a hey gets added to her name. Well, what is that all about? The hey is that place of revelation where the breath of God blows in, brews, and then is released. It's a tent with an open flap, but it's like a womb. It is that place that births life, and then that life will come out. This happened to Sarah prior to her getting pregnant. This change happened. The Holy One introduced into her wisdom and understanding. The Yod is the symbolism of wisdom. Where is it? Right there. Chokmah, wisdom. So she had wisdom, but what she needed was she needed the hay. She needed the dalet added, which is understanding. Because when wisdom and understanding are brought together, then you have this fulfillment of being able to walk in the ways of God. You want wisdom and understanding, not just wisdom, not just understanding. You need them both. She got both. And that became the hay that brought forth the revelation. So, this whole thing of her moving into being the mother of all of the, she was the mother of Isaac, but through Isaac, all the nations were blessed. All the people were blessed. And Messiah came forth. She had to have that revelation, just like Abraham was given the hay in his name, because then all of a sudden he had wisdom and understanding brought together, revelation. And then he was able to move forward into this, crossing over into this new dimension, this new walking in the garden dimension, so that they were able to release what God had for them. And it was it's simple. In English, we don't get that. We just think, oh, he just changed her name. Okay, change it. Well, what he was doing was birthing within them the ability to walk in covenant relationship with him and to teach that. So when we look at Sarah now refusing Hagar and Ishmael to stay in the camp when Isaac is born, do you get that now? She was given wisdom and understanding and revelation because of that. She knew that the two could not mix together. And in other words, they couldn't be raised together, and her son of the covenant would be influenced in a negative way. There had to be a separation. But like Simi was always telling us, one becomes two and two becomes one. There's a separation, and it's always so that there can be a coming back, just like marriage, husband and wife, and then they're united, they're one. Adam was one, he was separated into two, then they get to go back together to be one. That's what was happening here. So eventually, Yeshua said that all men would be saved, right? All men would be saved. All nations of the earth would be blessed. Okay, so we get to see the picture coming here. But that is just a tiny little thing that you can see. See, there's a little, hey, a yod and a dalet make a hay. You put those two together and you get the hay, the revelation, the birthing forth. It's the Ruach HaKodesh. It's the birthing, it's the breath of life that goes over. And then it draws the revelation of heaven into the situation on earth. And that's what happened.
I just realized too that they didn't get their names changed. Their names didn't get changed until they both surrendered their ability to be fruitful.
Yes.
They both got their name changed after Hagar, the Hagar incident, the thing we do not speak of. And then they got
that bad summer
circumcision.
I have
it was during the circumcision, and that then after they surrendered their ability and their will, then they could walk in their fruitfulness, because they'd surrendered that their ability and their own provision.
Go ahead. What were you saying?
Yes, because there is 10 years before she actually conceives. So Hagar gives birth. We have the whole thing with them, and then 10 years later, she gives birth. So those 10 years, remember what number 10 means?
Fullness.
And it's also testing. Remember in Revelation, one of the churches will be tested for 10 days. So there is a testing there of them, making their own, they made their own Ishmael,
Yes.
they made their own.
We do that, don't we?
God said that, but it hasn't happened. So let's just make it happen. So they make it happen. And then when they have it, what a mess. So then like, okay, we thought we were making this good and it's worse than it was before. Now what? So then there's 10 years to purify that, to really test that, to really say, you know what? I'm, you do it, God.
Yeah.
I messed
Yeah.
it up. You
Wait.
do it.
Not my will, but yours be done.
Yes. Yes.
I think this whole story is a Corbano law story. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is.
Mhm.
Seriously.
How to give up your will. I have this. I can relate on a very strange level to this. Not that but I didn't give my husband away to another woman. But my husband had surgery this earlier this year on his other shoulder was replaced, and he had some struggles. Was having some struggles, and so my Sarai moment was I was going to help him out and get him a puppy, because that was going to make everything all better, because he had lost his service dog the year before, and I'm like, we'll get him another one, and then it's a year, and then he can go into a training program, and this is going to all happen. And I knew that I was not supposed to do this, but I did it anyways, and we pushed and we did it. And literally we spent the money, we get this dog, the one that he really wanted. Mind you, this dog grows to be almost 140 pounds. And this time we're on a ranch, no big deal. But little did I know the Lech Lecha was going to happen again, and I was going to have to be back in my little Thelma D for a few months, and then then in a fifth wheel full time for a while. Little did I know, does not make a happy life with a 140-pound dog, right? He's 80 pounds now. And what happens is when my husband's walking or doing something, he is so strong and so big that he'll pull, and and he's just in pain all the time. And it's causing way more stress than anything. It's been a stressful issue probably from the beginning, if I'm honest. And recently, my husband took him for a walk, and he saw something, a squirrel or something, and went to go after it and wrapped around his legs and pulled him, and he fell, hit himself in the face, his shoulder, his knee. I mean, road rash. It was a horrible fall. He's still black and blue, bruised, scraped, knees infected now from all the stuff in it. I mean, and he said, I'm done. We have to get rid of the dog. And it was like, today's the day. We're sending Gunner out. Gunner's going to be going. We're not leaving him with no water and food like they did with poor Hagar. But we are actually had to find him another home with our vet tech, and he's going to have to go somewhere else to live, because it was an Ishmael that needed to not be in our home. And I knew it when it happened. I knew that I was going against what was the plan, but I didn't know what the plan was. So I just said, I'll make my husband happy. Let's get him a puppy. I'll fulfill this instead of letting my husband and God work this out together. I jumped in. Women, how many have you done this? You're trying to jump in with your husbands, with your children, with your friends.
Yeah.
Many of you will hear me
Yep.
say this saying, it's not my weed to pull. And I'll share it another time what that download was. And the book is on the way. But it's not my weed to pull. If I had left it alone, it would have been able to do what it needed to do, be birthed. Sometimes there's plagues in the womb, right? Sometimes there's things happening and do we cause things to be birthed too soon and there's a miscarriage? Or it's birthed too soon and it has to be limped along with special breathing devices and things until it can finally get to maturity, instead of having rested in what he's called. And I don't know who's there, but I know that's one thing that needed to come out today, was that we jump in the way, and we need to stop.
Yeah.
Ladies, we need to stop. He put the hay at the end of Isha. He put the hay there for a reason.
Yeah.
Because we're the ones who are to bring the wisdom and the understanding together. Like Brenda was saying, not our own wisdom and our own will without his understanding. Otherwise we birth crazy things like 140-pound dogs that, we shouldn't have.
Can I make a correction?
Yes.
This goes perfectly with what you're saying. He restores everything for those that love him and are called according to his purpose. So I thank you, Abba, for that. But I made a huge mistake. Okay, I reversed the order. In Genesis 16, it says that Abraham listened to what Sarah said. That's when she offers Hagar. Okay. So what does that reminded you of? Who listened to his wife?
Right.
Adam listened to Eve, right? And took the fruit. So here it's Abraham. It's the phrase is exactly the same. And Abraham listened to what Sarah said. And then after 10 years that they were in Canaan is when he takes Hagar. So God has said, you're going to have a child that's going to be your heir. But 10 years has passed by and nothing has happened. So she says, well, just take him. They waited still that time. So it's that testing time. And finally, they didn't complete it. They made their own Ishmael. Instead of waiting that those 10 days, those 10 years would have been time of testing and saying, okay, God, we're still waiting. I don't know why you're delaying, but we trust you and it will be in your time, your will be done. They go ahead and take matters into their own hands. And that's when this mess happens with Ishmael. Then she ended up going. And when what's really interesting to me was that God tells the angel of Adonai, which there's many versions on that, says to her, go back to your mistress and submit to her authority. So it's, even though it was not what God intended, they made their own will. Still, God said, I will bless them. Don't worry about it. Just go back to her. But the authority had to come from that lineage. Like when you were saying, we were in him, we were in Abraham. That is the lineage that the blessing is coming down. So this is an added to what you said, Charlie. I know we make mistakes and we want to kick ourselves and we think we ruin it. We ruin it for our family, for myself, for my children, or for grandchildren, or so
He
many
makes
times.
a way. He makes
And
a way.
he
We're not
does.
that.
He
We're not
does.
that. We're just not that powerful to mess it up. We're not powerful enough to mess the plan up.
No,
We may delay things. We may cause things.
Mhm.
We may have restrictions on ourselves.
Yeah.
We've caused the cursings or the limitations.
And
But we
suffer the
never-
consequences.
Yes, but we never mess. Look at and I love the. We've talked about the video. If you've seen it, with the God who sees. I know Kathy Lee Gifford produced it. This is beautiful as she talks. He sees her. So maybe you're the Tamar. I'm not the Tamar. Maybe that's who you are. Maybe you're the one who.
Hagar.
I mean Hagar. Maybe you're the Hagar, and maybe you're the Hagar that because of someone else's disobedience, that you had to be submitted to, it has caused what you have felt like was a curse, was limitations in your life and restrictions in your life because you submitted to someone. Maybe it was a pastor, maybe it was a pastor's wife, maybe it was a parent. I love that Hagar's in this story because she's the representation of a victim. She was given as a gift from the Pharaoh. She was a slave. She was a victim of this. And now here she is trying to walk this all out and under submission of authority that she didn't ask for this. And God sees her. She's cast aside. She's thrown out with just barely enough to make it through a day with a son. And God sees her. And look into that. If some of you that are say a little bit more advanced in studying, I want you to look into, he says he sees her different versions, one's 4 times, one's 5 times, about the angel said versus the angel, and what some say that it's multiple angels ministered to her, that there was more than one angel that ministered to her because each time they said it was a different angel. I don't know. There you go. There's for some of you who want to go dig into something deeper, but he saw her. So if you've been a victim to something, a crime, you've been a victim to something because someone else was disobedient, someone else hurt you, and you had no control over the matter. He sees you. He sees you.
Agreed. Yes.
Can I say something about the timing?
Yes.
Okay. One thing that is interesting is sometimes things are not quite ready for the what we are expecting. And one of the things that needed to be in place for Isaac to come is like Abraham needed to be circumcised before, because the son of the promise needed to come pass through the cut. He needed to pass through the circumcision in order to
Wow.
be part of the people. And obviously, if that hadn't happened before, he couldn't have be having Isaac before. And sometimes we get so discouraged because until the time where we give fruit, we feel like, man, how long have I been waiting? And so many
Mhm.
tears and struggle because we feel God wants us doing something or wants
Mhm.
us to, and we are so eagerly waiting and wanting to go ahead of God. And in like it is something that I think we all go through this, and it's so painful. And I've been going through an experience like that, and I'm like, well, I will see one day maybe that when things are put in place, I will go and say, wow, that was what was missing for me to do this that God wanted me to. So it's quite encouraging that
Yes.
it was the circumcision in their case that needed to happen before Isaac was born.
Wow.
And
Thank you
in
for
our
bringing that.
lives, it's
That's
just,
beautiful.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish up. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, no, it's just that this is an encouragement for us, really, and especially I think very much for me because I'm kind of, almost like when, oh Lord, and so it was quite encouraging to now remember this, and I think will help us all to know that things that God is putting everything in place so
Yes.
we can achieve what we need to achieve, and that was it.
Oh, thank you so much. That was precious. Charlie, I know that you need to get going. Um, you have to be leaving in a minute. You're on mute, sis.
I just want to remind everyone as we leave today is that you are an Isha.
Mhm.
He has added the hay. As much as I love joking about that, he has added the hay
Yeah.
to you. He has added the ability to bring life into dead situations, bring revelation. But we have to surrender our will for our land to be fruitful.
Yes.
We have to do our own korban olah. He did it for you, right? We have to do that thing where we always, as in the prayer, Father, thy will be done
Yes.
on earth as it is in heaven. Father, what right now is hindering the women? What is hindering my life, these women's lives? What mindsets, what lies we've inherited, what weed killer has come in to kill the seeds that we are supposed to be bringing life to because of it's our thoughts, our actions. I mean, I'm just hearing mindsets. We surrender all of that. We surrender it to
Yes.
you. We surrender it to you. If you've had a hard week this week, surrender it to him. If your mind feels like it's spinning out of control over crazy stuff, that might just be me, surrendering it, just surrendering it to him.
Yes.
Your will, your ways, your thoughts, your intentions, that they're all surrendered so that you can bring on, and he wants to give you that hay into your name.
Yeah.
He wants to bring the revelation into you so that you then, your land is fruitful and multiplied and blessed.
Yes. Yes.
And that's all I got.
Wow. Precious. We, ladies, we have all day today. We have all day tomorrow to reread this portion and ask the Holy One to speak whatever revelation he wants to speak to us about this, to give us to give us a piece of his heart from all of this. And we get a chance tonight at sundown to just shut down and be with him and be present with him, where the cares of the world do not have to chase us around and pull us into. We don't have to be creative. We don't have to be anything. We get to just be with him. That is the glorious Shabbat that we get to walk in, that sets us apart from all other people. We have that opportunity to do that. I would encourage you, if you've never even experienced Shabbat before, when the sun goes down tonight, just stand before him. Just if you're in a crazy house with a lot of chaos, just get to a place where you can just be quiet for a moment and say, Father, I give this time to you. Show me how to Shabbat tonight with you. And he will. He will speak that life. He will speak that revelation to you, because it's your inheritance for you to walk in the Shabbat. And so I just encourage any of you who haven't, let's talk, let's dialogue, get a hold of us. We will talk with you. It's not a hard thing. It's not too hard. It's not legalism. It's not legalistic. It's not a salvation issue. It's an abundant life issue. It is what he said for us to do. It's who we are, and it's how we walk out his ways. We are a people who Shabbat. We are a people who have a Sabbath, where we set time aside for him. It's who we are. It's who we're created to be. And what that looks like is going to be different for every person. There's no, we're not putting a stamp on it saying it has to look this way or it has to look that way. That's between you and the Almighty. But we'd be happy to, talk with you, anybody. We'd be happy. Everybody on here, we'll all be happy to talk to you about it. But I just want you to have that. I just want to blow that breath of blessing onto you right now, that tonight at sundown, you have that glorious opportunity to walk with him in a way that you've never, ever experienced before, if you've not had an opportunity to walk in the Shabbat. All right. Well, we have a lot more, and we'll have to get to it next year.